Every person watching this video is making a decision right now, and most people never even realize it. A silent decision, a hidden decision, one that slowly shapes the direction of an entire life. Some people wake up 10 years later feeling proud of who they became. Others wake up carrying regret, asking themselves where all the time went. The strange part is that both lives were built the same way, quietly, slowly, one decision at a time. Many people spend years believing their future depends on luck, money, talent, powerful connections, or perfect timing. Yet history keeps showing something surprising. Some of the most successful people started with almost nothing. Some faced rejection, failure, loss, and painful setbacks. Still, something changed. Somewhere along the way, they made one powerful decision that shifted everything. A decision stronger than fear, stronger than excuses, stronger than circumstances. Here is the unsettling truth that many people ignore. Every day your future is being shaped, even during moments that feel small and unimportant. The way you think when life becomes difficult, the habits you repeat when nobody is watching, the standards you accept for yourself. These quiet moments carry more power than dramatic breakthroughs. Science even shows that repeated decisions slowly reshape the brain itself. Your habits create patterns, your patterns build identity, and identity quietly determines direction. That means success rarely appears through one lucky moment. Failure also arrives quietly, hidden inside repeated choices that feel harmless at first. So why do some people completely transform their lives while others remain stuck for years? Why do some rise stronger after failure while others surrender after one setback? Why do two people with similar opportunities end up living completely different lives? The answer may surprise you because it has very little to do with intelligence, motivation, or natural talent. There is one decision happening beneath the surface, and most people never stop long enough to recognize it. Even more surprising, a wrong decision repeated long enough can slowly destroy dreams before they even have a chance to grow. In this video, you will discover the one decision that quietly determines the direction of your future. You will learn why many people stay trapped in the same cycle for years, the hidden psychology behind growth and failure, the small choices that secretly shape success, and the mindset shift that can completely change the way you approach life. More importantly, by the end of this video, you may begin seeing your own future differently. Stay with us until the end, because one powerful truth near the end could completely change the way you think about success, struggle, and the life waiting ahead of you. Welcome to our channel, where growth begins with truth and transformation starts with perspective. Subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey toward becoming the strongest version of yourself. Here is a truth that many people discover far too late. The future rarely arrives through one dramatic moment. It does not suddenly appear after one lucky break, one motivational speech, or one perfect opportunity. Most lives are shaped in silence, quietly, slowly, through decisions that seem small at the time. The choice to wake up a little earlier, the decision to keep learning when progress feels invisible, the habit of staying disciplined when distractions feel easier. At first, these moments seem unimportant, almost forgettable. Yet over time, they begin stacking on top of each other, building something larger than most people realize. A future is never built in one day. It is built in ordinary days, repeated again and again. That is where many people become stuck without even understanding why. They spend years waiting for life to somehow change on its own, waiting for motivation to finally arrive, waiting for confidence, waiting for circumstances to improve, waiting for the perfect moment to begin. Yet life keeps moving. Days become months, months quietly become years, and the person staring back in the mirror slowly becomes someone shaped by hesitation rather than growth. The painful truth is that waiting changes people too. Staying the same is still a decision, even when it feels invisible. Successful people understand something different. They stop waiting for life to move first. Instead, they make a decision before the results appear. before the confidence arrives, before proof exists. They decide to become someone stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more focused. Then, slowly, life begins to follow the direction of that decision. The outside world starts changing after something shifts on the inside. This hidden truth explains why two people can start in the same place and end up living completely different lives. One keeps delaying change. The other chooses growth before comfort. At the center of everything lies one powerful question, a question almost every person avoids asking themselves honestly. Will I remain the same person, repeating the same habits, carrying the same mindset, making the same excuses? Or will I become someone better even when the process feels uncomfortable? This decision quietly influences everything: the books you read, the people you allow around you, the standards you accept, the way you react to failure, the promises you keep to yourself. Even the way you think during difficult moments begins to change, and once thinking changes, actions slowly follow. Over time, those repeated actions begin shaping something much bigger than a temporary result. They begin shaping identity, direction, and eventually the future waiting ahead. Most people do not stay stuck because they are lazy or incapable. The truth is far more human than that. They stay stuck because comfort feels safe. Familiar routines feel safe. Even painful situations can begin feeling comfortable simply because they are predictable. Human beings naturally move towards certainty, even when that certainty leads nowhere meaningful. A person may dream about changing their life, building something bigger, becoming healthier, stronger, more successful, yet deep inside, another voice whispers something powerful and dangerous. Stay where things feel familiar. Stay where failure cannot hurt. Stay where rejection cannot reach you. And slowly, comfort becomes a silent trap disguised as security. Many people tell themselves a story they repeat for years. They say they will start when the time feels right, when life becomes less stressful, when motivation finally arrives, when confidence feels stronger, when fear disappears. Yet something strange happens. The perfect moment never seems to come. Life keeps moving forward without asking permission. Responsibilities grow. Energy changes, new problems appear, days quietly disappear into routines that feel temporary, yet somehow become permanent. 1 year becomes 3, 3 quietly become 10, and somewhere along the way, dreams that once felt exciting begin feeling distant, almost unrealistic. Fear quietly plays a larger role than most people want to admit. Fear of failure keeps people frozen because failing feels painful. Nobody wants to feel embarrassed or disappointed. Nobody wants to work hard and still fall short. Yet an even quieter fear exists beneath the surface. Fear of judgment, fear of being laughed at, fear of hearing people say you changed or you are aiming too high. Many people carry dreams in silence because they are afraid of becoming visible. Staying small begins feeling safer than risking criticism. Then there is fear of uncertainty, the fear of stepping into a future with no guarantees. The human mind loves certainty, even painful certainty. That is why many people remain inside situations they have already outgrown. Over time, something painful begins to happen. People slowly lower their expectations. They stop asking for more from life. They begin accepting situations that once felt unacceptable. They settle for jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, habits that slowly destroy their confidence. The saddest part is that it rarely happens all at once. It happens quietly, through compromise after compromise, excuse after excuse, until the life they once dreamed about feels impossible to reach. Because the greatest tragedy in life is rarely failure itself. Failure can teach. Failure can build strength. The real tragedy begins when someone becomes comfortable living a life they never truly wanted, convincing themselves that this is simply how things were meant to be. At some point, every person reaches a moment that quietly determines the direction of their future. It may not look dramatic. There may be no applause, no perfect timing, no sudden breakthrough. It often happens in silence, during frustration, disappointment, or exhaustion. A moment when someone finally becomes tired of repeating the same cycle, tired of waiting, tired of hoping things will somehow improve without change. And in that moment, one decision begins separating people who transform their lives from those who remain trapped in the same patterns. The decision sounds simple, yet it carries enormous weight. I will take responsibility for my life. This idea can feel uncomfortable at first because responsibility demands honesty. It asks difficult questions, questions many people spend years avoiding, questions about habits, excuses, decisions, and the direction life is moving. For a long time, it feels easier to point towards something else. The past becomes the reason. Painful experiences become the reason. Family struggles become the reason. Bad circumstances become the reason. Other people become the reason. Even bad luck becomes an explanation. And while some of these struggles are very real, something dangerous happens when blame becomes permanent. The more power a person gives to outside circumstances, the less power they feel within themselves. There comes a moment when waiting quietly turns into suffering. Waiting for someone to believe in you, waiting for opportunities, waiting for life to suddenly become easier, waiting for confidence to finally appear. Yet powerful change begins the moment someone stops waiting to be rescued, because the truth many people rarely hear is this: nobody is coming to build your future for you. Nobody can make the hard decisions, build discipline, protect your time, or create meaning on your behalf. That realization may feel heavy at first, but hidden inside it is something incredibly powerful: freedom. The moment responsibility enters your life, something begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as powerless. You stop feeling controlled by circumstances. You begin asking different questions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what can I do next? And that small shift changes everything. Responsibility creates control. Control creates action. Action slowly creates change. Even small actions begin carrying meaning because they remind you that movement is still possible. Life may have handed you pain you never asked for. Some people have experienced rejection, loss, unfair treatment, or hardships that felt impossible to carry. Some wounds leave marks that stay for years. The truth is that nobody controls every chapter life brings. Nobody controls every obstacle, every betrayal, or every difficult beginning. Yet somewhere between pain and possibility lies a powerful truth that changes lives quietly. You may not control everything that happened to you, but you still hold power over what happens next. Something powerful begins to happen after a person makes the decision to take responsibility for their life. The change rarely looks dramatic in the beginning. There are no fireworks, no instant transformation, no overnight success story waiting on the other side. In fact, the beginning often feels quiet, almost invisible. Yet beneath the surface, everything slowly starts shifting. A person begins paying closer attention to the way they think. The excuses that once felt normal begin feeling uncomfortable. Time starts feeling more valuable. Small moments that once disappeared without purpose begin carrying meaning. One of the first things that changes is curiosity. A person who once avoided growth starts searching for answers. They begin reading more, listening more carefully, learning from people who have already walked difficult roads. Books that once felt boring suddenly feel important. New ideas begin replacing old limits. Slowly, the mind begins expanding. The same problems that once felt impossible begin looking different because perspective changes before circumstances ever do. That is something many people never realize. Growth often starts internally long before it becomes visible externally. Then thinking begins to shift. Instead of constantly focusing on problems, attention slowly turns towards solutions. Instead of saying, this is impossible, the question becomes, how can this improve? Even the inner voice begins changing. Self-doubt slowly loses some of its control. Negative thinking no longer feels permanent. A stronger mindset begins forming through repetition, through effort, through difficult days where growth still feels invisible. Time also begins looking different. Distractions that once stole hours every day start feeling expensive. Energy gets protected more carefully. A person becomes more intentional about where attention goes, who they spend time with, and what habits quietly shape their future. Toxic patterns begin losing their grip. Some people walk away from unhealthy relationships. Others leave behind destructive routines, constant excuses, or habits that slowly drain confidence. The process feels uncomfortable because change often demands sacrifice. Sometimes growth means letting go of versions of yourself that once felt familiar. The strange part is that progress still feels slow. There are setbacks, difficult days, moments where nothing seems to improve. Many people quit during this stage because they expect dramatic results too quickly, yet real transformation rarely moves in giant leaps. It happens through consistency, one better choice repeated again and again, one disciplined action after another, one difficult decision made on days when motivation feels absent. Years later, people suddenly look at someone and call them successful. They admire the confidence, the discipline, the results, the life that seems different from everyone else. Yet most people never see the hidden story behind it. They never saw the quiet mornings, the sacrifices, the failures, the self-doubt, or the small decisions repeated when nobody was watching. There is a hard truth that many people spend years trying to avoid because facing it feels uncomfortable. Time keeps moving, whether a person feels ready or not. Days continue passing, months disappear quietly, years move faster than anyone expects. And somewhere along the way, many people wake up feeling shocked by how much time has already gone. They remember promises they once made to themselves, goals they planned to chase, versions of themselves they promised they would become. Yet life slowly became filled with distractions, fear, responsibilities, and waiting. Waiting for confidence, waiting for certainty, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for a sign that somehow never arrived. That is why it becomes important to stop for a moment and ask a difficult question, one many people avoid because deep down they already know the answer. If nothing changes from this point forward, where will life lead in 5 years? Will the same habits still be running the day? Will the same fears still be making decisions? Will the same excuses still sound reasonable? It is an uncomfortable thing to think about because most people already know where repetition leads. The same actions tend to create the same results. A person who keeps delaying growth rarely wakes up in a completely different life by accident. Then another difficult question appears. 5 years from now, will there still be hesitation, still doubting abilities, still telling yourself that tomorrow will somehow feel easier, still waiting for motivation to arrive before taking action? So many people quietly build their lives around the phrase one day. One day I will start. One day I will become disciplined. One day I will chase the dream. One day I will finally believe in myself. Yet one day has a strange way of turning into someday, and someday quietly disappears into years. The difficult truth is that the future many people keep thinking about is never simply waiting somewhere ahead. It is already being shaped right now in ordinary moments that seem forgettable, through habits repeated every morning, through decisions made during hard days, through moments when nobody is watching. Even choosing to stay the same begins shaping tomorrow. Even hesitation carries consequences. Every action matters more than it first appears. A person becomes stronger or weaker through repeated choices, more confident or more doubtful, more disciplined or more distracted, more fulfilled or more frustrated. The direction may feel invisible at first, but invisible change is still change. Every decision quietly leaves a mark. Every repeated habit slowly builds momentum. Whether someone realizes it or not, life is constantly responding to the choices made today, shaping the person they are slowly becoming. Your life may never change in one dramatic moment. Real change rarely happens that way. Most of the time, transformation arrives quietly, slowly, through decisions that seem small when they happen, through habits repeated when nobody is watching, through choices made on difficult days when giving up feels easier. Futures are not built overnight. They are built one decision at a time, one disciplined morning, one difficult choice, one moment of courage repeated again and again until a different version of you slowly begins to appear. There may be days when progress feels invisible, days when effort feels pointless, days when doubt becomes louder than hope. But many of the most important changes in life happen beneath the surface long before anyone can see them. A tree spends years growing strong roots before it ever rises tall enough for people to notice. Growth often works the same way. Quiet, slow, hidden, yet powerful. And maybe one day, years from now, you will pause for a moment and look back at this chapter of your life. You will remember the struggles, the uncertainty, the moments when life felt heavy, the days when changing felt impossible. Then something unexpected will become clear. Everything began shifting the moment you made one decision, the decision to stop waiting, the decision to stop surviving every day and finally start becoming the person you knew you could be. Because in the end, life changes when people decide they will no longer let fear make decisions for them. Growth begins the moment excuses lose their power. Confidence begins the moment action becomes stronger than doubt. And success begins long before results appear. It begins the moment someone chooses to move forward, even slowly. So take a moment and ask yourself something honestly today. What decision am I making about my future right now? Am I building the life I truly want, or am I quietly repeating the same patterns that keep me stuck? Because the future you dream about may be closer than it seems. It may begin with one difficult choice, one brave decision, one moment where you finally decide that your story deserves more. If this video spoke to you, take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We create videos to help you grow stronger, think deeper, and become the best version of yourself. Your future starts with the choices you make today, and this journey is only beginning.